So it's like, I play the piano. You sit down at the piano and you play middle C. You got a middle C. You might put on the damper pedal or the soft pedal or something. But you don't have to play with, monkey around with settings for 20 minutes to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I'm not much. I've never been much for monkeying around with the. You get good instruments that play well and sound well, and you amplify them. And some of the effects I love are like fuzz, delay, reverb that always sound great. You don't have to mess with them too much. Just kind of adjust them almost like adjusting your volume, and you're good to go. It's clean. Clean. Adding the Holy Grail Hall reverb. Blend and amount, everything's about 1 o'clock. Let's turn everything down to about 12 o'clock. Let's go back to about 1 o'clock. Right about there. Now we're going to add the clone, which is it's flangers about 2 o'clock, chorus is about 7 o'clock, and raid is about 10:30, or maybe 11. Chorus go up to about 2 o'clock. That's flange and chorus at 2 o'clock. Let's try the flange down. Flange is at about 10 o'clock. We're going to try the micropod with everything. Bass is at 12 o'clock. Highs are at 12 o'clock. And dry is at about 2 o'clock. dries, I just put dry down to nothing. Let's turn the bass down to about 10 o'clock, highs up to about 2 o'clock. Everybody, I've got my beautiful Fender Esquire and Lake Placid Blue 70th anniversary. I just wanted to say a little bit about this pedal, the Electro Harmonix Epitome. I tried it out, picked up one to try out. I like these multi-effects pedals. You kind of get a little bit of a pedal board, but kind of with a cluster of pedals that might work well together, so you don't end up with one of these 20 pedal boards. And I've had good experiences with several of these. This one has the holy grail, the Electric Mistress, which combines flanger and chorus, and then micropog. So basically, you get 3 pedals in one, and I think it comes to maybe you get a little discount. I think you can do the math, but it's basically like buying the 3 pedals, and you can use them totally separately, and there you got 3 full pedals in there basically. So it's definitely worth it on that account. And it's like I said, I like these pedals because you might get like 1 or 2 effects, and if you think about it, if you've got a pedal board with 10 effects, you're not using all 10 of those at any one time. So depending on what kind of player you are, you might use a micropog and a reverb on one song, and then you've got it here. And I like some of these multi-effects pedals. I wish they made more. I don't like those digital sub-menu things that do everything under the sun. But I do like these pedals that kind of combine a pedal or two. I'm going to give you my honest take. And I'm not a demo channel. I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to explain this thing, mostly because one of the things I'm going to say is it's kind of hard to use. So I'm just going to give you my candid thoughts. It's 3 great Electro Harmonix pedals. They're not pedals I tend to use, so I look at the kind of player I am, which is what every player has to do. I do like reverb, so in this you get a beautiful Holy Grail reverb, which is one of the great reverbs. By the way, whatever happened to the Electro Harmonix Cathedral pedal? I always wanted to buy one, then they sort of disappeared. I never see them anymore. But there's the Holy Grail, so you get that. I mostly just play on the hall setting in my limited technological capacity. I just think, well, I'd rather play in a hall than a room. So I always leave it on hall. I didn't mess too much with the shimmer setting. That Bill Rupert is amazing with the Electro Harmonix videos, and he made that thing sound like a Philharmonic orchestra. And as for the Electric Mistress, so I liked it when I was playing with the reverb. I thought, I got a good reverb, which, you would expect. So it's a nice ambient reverb, which is great. So it's a Holy Grail, basically. When I started adding them one at a time, I started with the Holy Grail, then I went to the Electric Mistress. And I think it's my style. I was never too much for chorus anyway. I think chorus came out. I actually used to play in a little studio, and we had one of those little gray Roland chorus pedals, and I noticed those go for a ridiculous amount of money now. We had one. This would probably be around 1981 or something, and I never liked it. I have never liked chorus. I don't like it on my acoustic guitar, but I've learned if you use it right, it can add. I guess I'd prefer flanger over chorus, but neither of those are effects I'm too crazy about. I don't mind a phase shifter once in a while, like Robin Trower, Bridge of Sighs, that kind of whooshing sound. But I don't like those modulation effects. I'm not too big on them. They always make my guitar sound out of tune, and or I feel like I've got a monkey with the pedals. And that's kind of my third point, and I'll just kind of quickly end, is especially when I got to the sub-octave, the micropog, I felt like I had to mess with the pedals too much, and I was getting too many unpleasant sounds. And I'm not much for unpleasant sounds. Now, I know a lot of people would say, well, you got to do this and set it this way and mess with it, or, look at a manual more. But you know what? I've been playing piano but you know what? I've been playing guitar a long time. And when I pick up a guitar, I like to play and have it sound good. And I have pedals to do that. When, a big muff, you kick it on, it sounds good. Delay, you might have to mess with it a little bit, but mostly it sounds good right away. So I've never been much for messing with settings, and especially live, and I think a lot of times the players that really have a lot of really specific settings, that's when they might go digital and have a lot of sort of presets that they put in there. Because I'm not one to mess with those knobs too much, especially when I'm playing for real and not just in here, experimenting with things. And several of these sounds, I thought it made it go out of tune, which I know, chorus can make it sound go out of tune. But I was getting this Esquire has excellent intonation, and I thought it sounded really good, clean, and then on reverb, and then I didn't think the chorus. That chorus and flange, I'm sure it's an excellent chorus and flange. That is not a sound I would tend to use a lot. But I thought the micropog made it sound like it was going out of tune. But I think it's probably me. Like I said, I'm giving you my honest opinion. So I think this is a good pedal. I do recommend it. If you know what you're doing and you like these three sounds, you get 3 pedals in one little box, and that is good. It's a nice pedal. It's got that big Electro Harmonix adapter, but I think it depends on what kind of player you are. I'm kind of an old school player. I'm not much for chorus. I do like a micropog. See, I own a micropog. It's on a pedal board. I don't use that much because since the pandemic, it's kind of clunky to get out and everything. But it's got a micropog on it, and I like it. But I'm not much for messing with knobs. And particularly when you start combining those 3 pedals, it's very sensitive with the knobs. Now, if you're the kind of person that can figure all that out, and I think this is a great pedal, it's not really that complicated in the sense that you've got 3 great electro harmonic pedals. They all work fine in here. You just have to like those particular pedals. Would you like an electric mistress, for example? And then you also have to realize you're playing them together, and of course the sum is greater than the whole of the parts. But you've got to know how to kind of combine them. But it's another great pedal from Electro Harmonix, depending on what kind of player you are. I always think these would be good for like ambient soundscapes. I'm not saying this as a joke, like a horror movie soundtrack. You ever watch some horror movies? I'm sort of a closet horror movie, but and you hear like kind of weird electric guitars that sound great. But that's all touchier, and that to me is if you like that kind of thing and you think you'd be able to work with this, then I do recommend it, because like I said, it's basically those 3 pedals. Do you like Holy Grail? Do you like the Electric Mistress? Do you like the Micropog? Well, if you want all 3, get this pedal. Electric Mistress isn't a pedal I personally would probably use much. If I bought anything, I'd buy that small stone phase shifter, which is great. And I'm not much for chorus. And the way I had it set, it was sounding like it was out of tune. I'm sure that was me, but on the other hand, I played with it a while and I couldn't get that out of tune sound out of there. And anytime I mess with the pedal and I'm having trouble making it sound good, I sort of lose interest pretty quickly, because I want to play the guitar. So it's like I play the piano. You sit down at the piano and you play middle C. You got a middle C. You might put on the damper pedal or the soft pedal or something. But you don't have to play with monkey around with settings for 20 minutes to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I'm not much. I've never been much for monkeying around with the. You get good instruments that play well and sound well, and you amplify them. And some of the effects I love are like fuzz, delay, reverb that always sound great. You don't have to mess with them too much. Just kind of adjust them almost like adjusting your volume and you're good to go. But this one is more complicated. So that's the only thing. I think, long story short, it might have been over my head. But I think it is a good pedal. Thanks. God bless.